Dr. Tessa Dunlop joins me now. She's a royal historian, author of Elizabeth and Philip. Good evening to you, Dr. Tessa.
Hello, Claudia Lisa. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. And I did talk about the very open and heated debate you had with Piers on his show. What was it that got you so heated about some of the things Piers was saying about Harry and Meghan?
I think that we've had several. In fact, I've been cautioned to be less heated. Yeah.
Who cautioned you? Darn it! Who's trying to hold you down, girl?
A feeling in the wind, you know, darling.
Girl, be you.
Can't possibly.
Be
it was
you.
a talkTV source. A talkTV source. You know, one doesn't give away one's sources. But interestingly, I think I did have a go. Yes, I did. I own it. I totally flew at him because there's a large section of the media personified by Piers, but not only Piers, who have come out vitriolically against Harry. They've parked their tanks on the royal family's lawn and they've sort of said, how dare anyone attack the royal family? And I think there's quite a large degree of hypocrisy. There was definitely a lot of stirring of the pot by Piers in the early days. Oh, look, you know, Meghan and Harry, they're a bit cooler than Kate and Wills. That's going to destabilise things. There's sort of, you know, like the kiddie who's like scratching, and then suddenly the dam bursts. Well, what did he expect? And now he's going, oh, how dare Harry retaliate or do these unsavoury things or say bad things about his family? You know, oh, I love the royal family. Well, I'm like, but Piers, you contributed to what really is a bit of a disaster for our royal family.
All right, so Tessa, you've read the book. What did you make of it?
And that's the other thing, incidentally, because and not just Piers, by the way, taking to task large chunks of the media, the way they've behaved, you know, and also the other problem is, if just quickly, and then I'll come to spare. It can be quite divisive. You know, there's certain characters in the media that a lot of people don't naturally align with, and that is like, oh well, if you know the Telegraph and the Mail are so vitriolically adamant that Harry's wrong and the royal family's right, it worries me that in some way impacts on the political neutrality of the crown. I'm a monarchist. I want people who feel a bit like meh, whatever. I want them to feel like, yeah, I'm okay with being a constitutional monarchy. But if it becomes like entrenched in the sort of political warfare in our press, then I worry that in the long term that's very damaging. On to spare.
Go on there. Yes, indeed. And particularly your biographer as well, your royal biographer. What did you make of it from that point of view?
Well, this is a gift for historians in the future. I mean, it's a joy to read. It's sort of a little bit of pop psychology, a little bit of
a gift.
A little bit as a light history, almost as fictionalized, the way it sort of rollicks along. And of course, all the cast we know so well, or at least we think we do. My concern for Harry is, because I think he's vulnerable, I mean, I think he'd almost admit that himself, even though he professes to be happier than ever, is what the long-term goal is. I wish he'd taken a bit longer, a bit more time before he splurged all this out. The late Duke of Windsor abdicated in 1936. He didn't write his much tamer biography until 1951. I just hope that Harry won't live to regret this. There's quite a lot of points.
I didn't know this. So this is King Edward, previous King Edward.
Yes.
He wrote a biography as well. Oh,
he did,
I'll add it to the list. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
but it was a few years later, you're saying, a good few years later.
Yeah, 15 years later. And you won't add it to the list because it's not still in print unless you go into an archive or a library. Okay. It's much tamer. Even then, of course, it was seen as highly scandalous. The Express said, kind of, we want our king back. People were very fond of Edward. He was a bit like Harry. He was highly charismatic. Now, arguably, Harry has a freer hand. He was never a king. He was never in line to the, he's never heir to the throne. But I just worry that what is this about, Harry? Because you say you clearly still is in the thrall of the monarchy. He still kind of needs them because part of his reflective glory and the interest in him is because he comes from this family, and in it he needles the institution, but he never really eviscerates them because, as he said, he's a product of the monarchy, and I'm not sure what his end game is. So while it's a great read for you or me, I've got to say, if I was a punter, I'd buy his book over my book at the moment. But once you've bought his, you can buy mine. I'm going to own it. It's a great book. But I worry, where is he going with this? What's he hoping to achieve? Is he trying to smoothly go from being a prince to being a sort of modern day contemporary celebrity in California? Is that it doesn't quite stack up?
It's so interesting you say this, and one of what always upsets me in terms of the very clear hate that can be that you get when anything of Prince Harry and Meghan is covered. What gets me is that actually we just can't have a real discussion. You're so busy trying to correct coverage and trying to say, whoa, that wasn't said, or this isn't where they were trying to go with it, or actually let's take a little bit of a deeper look, it's more nuanced, blah, blah, blah. You're so busy just shutting that down that you can't actually just have a real, genuine conversation where there is the critique and there is the, we can understand what's being said, or actually, and then also, as I said, we can also critique. And interesting you say that. I do, talking about when he did a few interviews, and just talking about that want of his, father and brother back. And I do have to, question how is that going to happen with this book?
And although it's beautifully, Moring has done a brilliant job, it's wonderfully written, they've clearly spent a lot of time on it, but just on a really personal level, as someone who writes, you can't take it back. And it's really conflicted, the narrative around Willie and Harold. He does love his brother, and that comes through, because otherwise why do you care?
And then what really got me about some of the headlines and the dropping of some elements, extracts of the book, what really got me is from reading the book, and I spoke about this myself in my own relationship with my own sisters, you get that this is just family, right? Brother and sisters, that actually if you report on it in a fair and accurate way, there are people who might be able to relate to Prince Harry. Of course, the critique will still be there. They might question what he's doing, and indeed might question Prince William's approach, King Charles's approach. But there's just so much more going on, and actually so much more that people can relate to, rather than everybody being so passionate, so angry about it. There's no sides. There's no sides from my perspective. I think this is just a family, and there's something going on. There's a dispute, there's a falling out, misunderstandings, whatever you want to call it.
So what is his longer game? Does he have a longer game? That's my question, Claudia, Lisa, because, OK, he needs the money. We know he's got princely expectations. He doesn't want to live in a button Ben in Montecito, and it's expensive. Keeping up with the Joneses,
is he?
No, and if you're keeping up with the Joneses, and the Joneses happen to be the royal family, you have standards to maintain, darling. But my concern is this isn't going to take him back to where he wants to go. I agree. The cut and run, demeaningly termed Mexit, was too brutal. It came from a different era. There are problems when your CEO is 96. It was too black and white. You're in, you're out. There should have been some kind of grey, fudgy compromise. There wasn't. But I think the likelihood of this book bringing him any closer to this compromise did, because he said it himself, he wants his brother and father back, and he wants a role in the Commonwealth, perhaps. He mooted it.
Yes, indeed, just trying to modernise the Commonwealth or work better with those countries. But I wish I could rewind it to, when was it? Was it 2020 when they left? And I just said, look, just go away, calm down, don't do anything, don't say you want to work part-time, just go away, calm down, let's have a breather, and then we'll come together and sort it out. Just again, something many people out there, if not everyone, can relate to. But Dr. Tessa Dunlop, always a pleasure to have you on, a royal historian and author of Elizabeth and Philip. Yes, indeed, there are other books out there, royal books aside from Spare.